is up? Welcome back to Tomahawk'd. I am your host, Rob Fox, joined as always by Dan Holloway. Recording a day early because Dan has a special guest on Citizen tomorrow, although I don't know when that'll air. But recording a day early, but it doesn't matter because we would be technically recording before the biggest news of the week. We'll get into it in a little bit, but I'm just happy that Max Fried is finally fucking back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad for him mostly. It's got to suck.
Right.
Especially the Braves are having an historic season right now. It's got to suck just sitting there watching the whole thing, to be honest.
Yeah. I wonder if this is just, this obviously doesn't mean anything, but the last time we had one of our best players out for most of the season, we won a World Series. So it'd be nice to do that again. But before we get into Max being back and all that stuff, because I do want to talk about that, the trade deadline has come and gone. What'd you think of, I will start with the Braves moves. What'd you think of the situation? We essentially, I'm not even going to bother saying what we sent away because we didn't really send anything away that is that notable. But we traded for 2 relievers and a basically infield defense specialist, Nicky Lopez being the defensive specialist on the infield. And we grabbed Pierce Johnson and Brad Hand, both from the Rockies, both relievers. What'd you think of the move?
I mean, I didn't think much.
Yeah.
But, you know, we don't exactly need much either. I mean, Pierce Johnson's had a bit of a rough time. He strikes a lot of people, but he's had a bit of a rough time in Colorado. But so far in 4 starts with us, no runs, .82 whip. His big issue was a high whip for the second year in a row, actually. And, you know, you could – in Colorado, I guess it's understandable, but he's had 2 back-to-back pretty rough years. But so far with the Braves, he's been good. So I guess we'll see how that continues. I mean, certainly things change when you're on a fucking better team, you know.
You just morale, you would think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be playing for a team like Colorado in particular, which is not just bad, but rudderless.
Yeah.
It has got to be pretty grim.
Yeah, that sucks.
It'd be one thing to be playing on like a bad team, but it's like young and there's pieces and
like Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they're not even bad anymore, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, like a team like Colorado, it's just, I mean, you're just collecting paychecks, right? I mean, hoping to get traded. Now, it is essentially interesting what the Braves did reliever wise. Nicky Lopez is what it is. Like they're going to put him in for, maybe Arcia late in or something like that, but. With the 2 relievers, with Pierce Johnson and Brad Hand, they essentially traded for guys who were striking out more than 10 per 9.
Yeah, and Brad Hand is only a left-handed specialist at this point in his career.
Right.
So he's only gonna face left-handers, and you know, if you look up and down his stat line just against lefties, 143 average against, OPS against is 480. You can deal with that.
What do you think about...
And also, almost half of his appearances versus lefties have ended in a strikeout,
right.
Which is nice, right?
Yeah.
So I think mostly what Brad Hand is to make sure we don't overuse A.J. Minter going down the stretch, right? That's primarily what he's about. But there's a decent chance he makes if he does well here, that he'll make the postseason roster as that additional lefty specialist because we don't have Balzac anymore.
Right. I mean, if you're in a jam in the 5th or 6th inning, that's probably not where you want to bring in Minter.
Yeah.
Minter you want to save for the 7th, 8th, or 9th. Pierce Johnson is interesting to me. Clearly they saw, I mean, it's really plain in the numbers. Sometimes you wonder, like, what do they see? Maybe they can make an adjustment on, motion or mechanics or something. But, I mean, like, the really, like, surface level numbers paint the only picture you need, which is he strikes out 13.29 per 9 innings, which is huge. But his ERA is terrible, but his expected fielding independent pitching is under 4. So he's essentially had some bad luck or should be doing better than he is. And then his batting average on balls in play this year is over 400, which is about that's
pretty bad, yeah.
Insane. And last year it was like 380 or 360 or something like that. So he's essentially had 2 wildly unlucky years. And I guess it really might end up being that neither of these guys are anything more than regular season bullpen depth. Although the numbers bear out. I mean, well, I think Brad Hand is going to make the postseason roster just by virtue of
probably
his handedness. Pierce Johnson, though, I think they're going to just see how he looks. Worst case scenario, he's depth, but I think they're going to see how he looks, and if he can keep up the K per 9 and the luck corrects itself, he's a fucking killer. But worst case scenario, you didn't really give up anything, and you've given guys a break.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I still don't understand why Vaughn Grissom is still in our organization. It seems like right now is his prime value, and there's no pathway for him to be a part of this Major League Baseball team. He will never be an elite shortstop ever. He doesn't have the range. You don't develop range as you get older. It doesn't work that way. He doesn't have the range or the instincts to be good at short, so he's going to be a third baseman. Our third baseman is signed through 2032, I think.
Yeah.
Our first baseman is signed also through 2032. It's like those corner infield positions are set. Maybe they have their eye on him as a DH once Ozuna's gone, maybe. Yeah. But fuck, man. I mean, considering the value you could get out of that guy right now, because there's a lot of teams that need a 21-year-old, a 21-year-old third baseman who can develop into that position as they grow up with some of their other draft picks that they're waiting on, and do so at a very low cost and hit 320.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I do not understand why he's still part of the organization. Maybe they just didn't get what maybe they want to save it for the offseason and get a better deal out of it.
Yeah.
Or something.
I was pretty underwhelmed by most of the players other teams picked up. I mean, the White Sox weren't willing to deal Dylan Cease, even though he hasn't been great this year. It's still Dylan Cease. I don't think the Mets were going to send us Verlander or Scherzer. And
who wants them?
Yeah, I mean,
I fuck that. They're not Scherzer. I would have taken because of the contract. Yeah. Verlander, not one fucking prayer. And it's funny. So the Mets started out the year with the highest payroll in Major League Baseball, and they are now spending more money on players that are no longer part of their organization than they are on their active goddamn roster. Yeah. $175 million going to players that they don't fucking have anymore, and $154 or something like that going to their actual roster. That is the worst management, the worst general management of any team in sports history since maybe the Red Sox sold Babe Ruth for $100,000 to the Yankees. Oh my God, dude! It could not have fucking made this a better year for me. If the Braves win the World Series this year, I may have to just fucking check out of life because it's never going to get any better than this.
It's so just brutally hilarious. Is there anyone? We talked about this off air a couple days ago. That I didn't really care about moves that American League teams made because if we make it to the World Series, we're only going to be facing one of them anyway. I care more about the NL field, and we'd have to play. Two NL teams, I guess.
Yeah, and in my opinion, nobody in the National League did anything remarkable enough to really improve their chances. I mean, the team that needed the most, the team that's a serious contender that needed the most help, in my opinion, was the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. Their bullpen and rotation are in trouble. I don't think that Clayton Kershaw is completely healthy right now. Maybe he will be by the end of the season. He's back on the IL for the third time this year right now. Urias is cruising out with a 5 ERA right now. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Gonsolin is cruising out with a 4 ERA, right? Which is last year he hovered around fucking 1 for most of the year.
Yes.
He's there. And then the guy they brought in for a starter is Lance Lynn, who is well beyond being productive in the Major League Baseball. He's got a 6.30 ERA.
He had a good start with them.
He had a good start with him, yeah. Now, bringing Joe Kelly over, that's a win. Joe Kelly is a fucking elite right-handed reliever, and he's kind of a cunt, which is good. You want people like that on your team in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that move was good. But they are the team that needed pitching the most, and I don't feel like they got enough. But, again, there wasn't that much available. I don't know if they checked in on Scherzer again to bring him back or if they checked in on Verlander or anything like that. Maybe the Mets, because the Mets sent them both, out of league, right?
Right, to the AL West, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's part of it or whatever decision they made, but that was a team that I expected to make some serious moves. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it just didn't happen. I don't know. The market did seem pretty dry this year, right?
It really,
especially for hitters.
It really did seem like it was. I mean, because there's so many contenders. So you have less sellers than you would pre-playoff expansion. And B, it just wasn't that great. Well, and then you had the wild card of the fucking Padres deciding that they're still in it somehow.
That's the real. I mean, I don't consider them a contender, so I didn't really bring them up in that part of the conversation. But their inaction, I guess, was the most puzzling.
It wasn't inaction. They added.
Yeah.
They were buyers. What? They're a game. I don't know what they are now because it's been like 2 days. But at the trade deadline, at the end of that day, they were a game in front of the Mets.
Let's see. Let me look now.
They had just swept the Rangers, and I guess they were feeling themselves.
Yeah, they're 4 games out of the last wild card spot right now, and there's 1, 2, 3 teams ahead of them. That is not easy.
No.
That's not easy to overcome. So it's like
4 games in 2 months is fine.
Yeah.
But
like leapfrogging other teams, especially one that's in your fucking division, and then one of the other wild card spots at the top, the Giants are also in your division, right?
Right.
And it is a pretty, aside from the Rockies, a pretty competitive division. Like you're going to play the Rockies some, but you're definitely going to play the Giants and the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, right? Like you're going to lose those games. You're not good, dude. You suck.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's not going to all of a sudden turn around for you. That was a pretty big mistake. There's 2 guys, Snell and Hader, that they're just going to get nothing for at the end of this year.
It's crazy.
Unless they feel like, I understand what the Angels did. The Angels probably will not make the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's because of the Angels that they fucking find a way. But making those moves to try to at least tell Ohtani, like, hey, if you sign here again, we're going to do whatever we can to fucking try to win.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. But you don't need to make that case to anybody on the Padres.
I guess
the only guy maybe
Soto
would be Soto, but he's got another year of arbitration left. One more, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got one more year of team control left. So they're going to get him, like his arbitration will probably be like, what, $25 million or something.
I think he's got 14 this year.
Yeah, he got 14 this year. So I guess it depends on how it goes, but he's going to get a minimum of $19 million next year.
Yeah.
And then they have all of next year to be competitive and try to convince him to stay. I just don't see what the point of Hader and Snell, like those guys are fucking unrestricted. Both of them are unrestricted free agency this year.
It's goddamn what they could have got for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those would have been. Did a more valuable player get moved? I don't think that either Verlander or Scherzer right now is more valuable than Snell.
No, definitely not more valuable than Hader. A lockdown left-handed closer on a World Series team. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, so Soto signed a $23 million deal for this year.
Okay.
1-year deal to wipe out arbitration 3. Arbitration 4 is next year.
Okay.
So technically, he signed a 1-year deal last year, setting that mark. 25 to 28 million. You're looking at that, and you also have him for a full additional year to try to do whatever you got to do to convince him that things are going to go well. But it's starting to feel a lot like the New York Mets out in San Diego right now.
It's so bad out there. That was wild. Like their fucking GM was just sitting like Scarface desk full of cocaine.
Yep.
Just doing whatever the fuck he felt like, which whatever, man, I guess.
But it shows you how good Houston and Atlanta are as organizations. Like Baltimore's on the come up right now. We'll see if they're able to put it all together with their young guys. Who knows what they're going to do in the playoffs this year if they're able to persist right now, but honestly, I think the Rays will probably get by him here, but
I think the pickup of Aaron Savale for the Rays was sneaky good.
That was really good. I mean, we should have been looking at that one, but good chance the Rays win that division, but the Orioles are almost at this point in the season a lock to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it's a lot like that, 2018 Braves team. Like they might have a little success, but you don't really expect too much. But a couple of free agent pitchers, little bullpen help, one more hitter on that team, and you're talking about a real contender, right? So that we'll see how they go. But the Astros and the Braves every year for decades, or I'm sorry, for half a decade now, every single year. And it's been, there's a core cast of characters, but then there's like, Atlanta's had to bring in, they had to swap out Freddie Freeman and Olson. They brought in Sean Murphy,
Arcia,
Ozuna, and whatever you want to say about them. But Ozuna, Soler, and Rosario have been role players to some degree.
And then, I mean, who the fuck, when we won our World Series, wasn't Adam Duvall in center?
For most of it, yeah. Making base running mistakes, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, now the outfield's almost complete. I mean, well, Acuña wasn't even playing for half that year. But, yeah, Harris, and then the rotation looks a lot different than it did in 21.
And then when you look at Houston's team as well, the difference between Houston's roster today versus when was the first World Series they won? 2017?
Yeah.
Their 2017 team, think about the people they lost. Carlos Correa's gone. George Springer's gone. That's 2 guys in the top 5 of their batting order.
Springer was the MVP of that World Series.
Yep. Gurriel's gone, right? Their first baseman at the time, he's gone. I think
their catchers were Gaddis and McCann.
That's right, yeah. They've been able to, in the same way, like Kyle Tucker came up and replaced George Springer, and he's a fucking legit dude. Kyle Tucker can fucking play.
Awesome.
Like he is a legit guy.
You know who their fucking ace was? Was Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole, yeah. They lost him. They had Verlander too, but he was hurt that year, I think. But they
no, he pitched that year.
He pitched that year, so he's back with the team now. But yeah, it's just two. Kyle Tucker is a homegrown guy, right? Like the year he's been in Houston his entire career. Being able to replace guys both in free agency and the farm system without fucking yourself up into the future, which is what most teams do. When they have to go out and make some deal to get prospects or something, they sacrifice their ability to be competitive right now, or they have to sacrifice prospects now and sign shitty, unfriendly contracts to the team for these players who are going to be good for 3 years and then bad for 5, right?
Yeah.
Neither one of these teams make those mistakes, and that's why they're competitive every goddamn year. With the Rays as well.
The Dodgers, too. The
Dodgers are kind of fucked this year, but I don't know that it's because of any of those things.
They're kind of further along in the process, I guess, than the Astros and Braves. Because the Dodgers, this really started for the Dodgers in like 14 or 15.
Yeah, but they've made some mistakes too. Like, getting rid of Jock Peterson, I thought was stupid of them because he's a clubhouse guy, and he is huge in huge moments.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't let that guy go. You don't let Corey Seager go. I thought that was a fucking mistake. Like, I don't know. What were their plan was to put Gavin Lux,
who got hurt at the start of the year.
Yeah, it's like he's never going to be on Corey Seager's level. But I get it. That's the economics of baseball. But you're also the fucking Dodgers, right?
Right.
And now they've traded for Ahmed Rosario, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him push Miguel Rojas out of that shortstop position entirely. Ahmed Rosario, a couple years ago, was one of the best fantasy shortstops to have.
Yeah.
Because he fucking steals bases.
Yeah.
Right? And in this new era, on a team like the Dodgers with the hitters he has around him, because he's able to get on base a lot. He's been languishing in Cleveland for a couple years now.
Right.
But when he actually has good hitters around him, you'll get like a 700 plus OPS out of this guy, and he's fast as fuck, and he plays great defense.
He's pushing 700 this year.
It's been a rough year for him. He's been banged up a lot. But yeah, it's like they've made some mistakes. Like, they carried Justin Turner for about a year too long, probably.
Yeah.
Which is funny because now he's kind of resurgent in
fucking
Boston.
ageless,
but
man.
slamming balls off the Green Monsters saved his career.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would include the Dodgers as well. Mookie Betts was a great signing. Freddie Freeman was a great signing for free agency. Even Jason Hayward was a good signing. J.D. Martinez was a good signing. So they've done a really good job of that. But I'm not seeing the homegrown talent other than guys who have been around for 10 years.
Will Smith, relatively young, their catcher. He's a top 5 catcher in baseball. It's mostly that it really kind of it's their pitching, but then now their pitching just having a horrible fucking year or horrible luck, right? Walker Buehler with the fucking whatever the fuck, Tommy John.
Yep.
He might return in September.
I hope not. Just let it. I mean, I like Walker. Just let your arm rest, dude. You're not gonna. You won't be effective. You're gonna have like dead arm. At that time.
And then Dustin May is another one that just can't stay healthy. Lux too, for that matter. But whatever. Yeah, there's no one in the National League. I will say the Phillies had a nice pickup with Lorenzen from the Tigers. He pitched a great game today. Dan's celebrating back there. Lorenzen had a really good line today. I forget exactly what it was, but it was pretty dominant.
He went 8 innings, 2 earned. Not bad.
That'll play. So that puts, that rotation 4 deep for the Phillies.
Yeah, it's just a shame that they can't hit. There's a couple of their 2 through 4 guys are doing okay. Everybody else is struggling bad. Real Muto's having a rough year.
Watch them get into the playoffs and Trey Turner turns back into World Baseball Classic Trey Turner.
Maybe. He's hitting 8th right now. So
yeah, I know.
He should be getting plenty of fucking fastballs. But he's got his on-base percentage this year is .290, which is by far the worst of his career.
That's horrible.
You scared?
I'm definitely not afraid of him. We've faced him for plenty of times in the playoffs now. Never been an issue.
Yeah. God, too many times. But yeah, so there's no one in the National League that I think really did anything amazing to upgrade. So I don't really necessarily hate the Braves' lack of moves. And Anthopoulos was never going to be a guy to force a move.
No, definitely not. And maybe he just didn't get back what he wanted. I don't think that the Braves necessarily needed to even add anything. It would be nice to go out and get a left fielder or some shit. But that's probably going to happen in the offseason. It just seems like right now is probably Vaughn Grissom's peak value. And to not get some value out of him when there's just no room. Unless if I start seeing Vaughn Grissom in AAA play left field, right, then cool.
Could be a possibility.
Yeah, could be a possibility. He's not a bad athlete. He just doesn't have great infield range. He doesn't have instincts for infield. And we've talked about this before, but great shortstops have like an internal clock. They know, it's not even like they're thinking about it all the time. Like they're checking their card to see how fast the base runner is or anything like that. They just have an internal clock. They know how fast they need to get to the ball and get it out of their hands. I don't know if there's any way to explain that, but it happens inside the brains of really great shortstops, and he's never going to be able to do that. It's not something you can teach.
There's a lot of guys who come up. It's kind of funny. Like you'll read about it later, like halfway through their careers. You're like, wait, he started out at what position? Bryce Harper was a catcher.
Yeah.
Miguel Cabrera started out at third base.
Yep.
If you recall, Albert Pujols' his first year, he played first, third, left field. He was a utility guy, basically, that they found places to put him in the lineup every day.
Yeah.
I think Kyle Schwarber was a catcher.
He was, yeah.
And then, even Chipper Jones was a shortstop till he hurt his knee.
So was Cal Ripken until he got a little older. So was A-Rod. It's like...
Yeah.
There's just not, unless they're planning on moving him to left, there's no room in the organization, or making him a DH, which I think that would be dumb. He's got a good arm, so I don't think you should DH a guy from the age 20.
Especially because we just re-signed d'Arnaud.
Yeah.
And I'm just fucking sick. We talked. Sorry, I don't need to get into it, but I'm sick of not seeing d'Arnaud in the lineup every day, or 3 out of 4 games or whatever. It's fucking crazy.
Doesn't make a lot of sense. But luckily, one of the guys that's been out for a while is back. Max Fried's back.
And
he's pitching tomorrow.
Kind of right on time. We pitch tomorrow against the Cubs. Not the easiest team to face. It'll be a little bit of a test, I believe, in Chicago too.
Yeah, 3-day games in a row, so they're all going to be Central Time. They're all going to be at 1:20.
Okay. Shit, I have to watch that at work tomorrow.
Well, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And Braves starters had a rough July. 4.46 ERA for the rotation in July. Bryce Elder in particular is kind of. It's not like he's fallen off the wagon or anything like that. I still have faith in him, but he got smacked around in July.
Yeah, he tends to have 2 bad games in a row. Like 2 or 3 times a year. Just has back-to-back bad games. But then all of his other games are 1 or 2 runs. That's not really what you want to see out of a guy at the top of the rotation going into the playoffs, but he's not at the top of the rotation.
He would be our 4. I would imagine.
Or 5 if Kyle Wright comes back sharp.
Yeah.
Probably, right? So, whatever. not too concerned about that. But yeah, it is nice to have you want your anchor, you want your stopper in there. And to be honest, we'll get to this in a minute, but I think there's a good chance that Spencer Strider is going to win the Cy Young this year. So you're going to have two aces now.
Right. Fried finished second in the Cy Young last year, and obviously, as you alluded to, the biggest thing for him is, even though he's going to be our game one starter in the playoffs, I would imagine, right? Barring a disaster, he's just the fucking guy. Like, he's a stopper. He's the big game winner. Like, at this point, he's already proven it in 21. Obviously, he didn't have a great start against the Phillies last year, but he kind of got dinked and dunked to death, which is wont to happen to him.
Yeah, it happens.
Unfortunately, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm excited to have Max back. What are you looking for out of him? I kind of think it's just like, hey, buddy, go get sharp.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
we have we are up 6 games more on the Phillies than all the rest of the division leads combined.
Yep.
So it's cruise control in the regular season at this point.
Yeah, and if you look at all of the peripherals for the Braves as a team, like their home and road record, they're winning 65%. Both they've scored the most runs in baseball. They're in the bottom third of the league in giving up runs. You know what I mean? Like every single facet of this team is good.
I don't know if you've seen on the MLB app, they updated how they show their standings. It used to be pretty ho-hum. Not really very illuminating in any way. I would go to ESPN if I wanted to see more in-depth stuff, but they just updated on the app, and it's a lot better. And one of the things they show is record versus teams over 500, and the Braves are 41-24 against teams over 500, which is fucking great.
Yeah.
And they are a game better than what their expected win-loss is.
Well, they've scored the second most runs behind the Rangers. I think the Rangers have scored about 20 more runs, and they've given up the third least amount of runs. So it's like that's a pretty good combination.
Right. We do have the best run differential.
By far now.
But I'm sorry, the Rangers tied us. So we're both at 159. I think we did the day before. Yeah, I mean, it's just cruise control for him at this point, right? Just go find your stuff, go just get your legs under you, and let's get ready for October. Is there any, I don't know, you worried about any sort of mental atrophy? Or, I mean, I guess it's not.
For Max Fried, no, not really. And, that's what separates good from great when it comes to athletes, is the ability to self-motivate, even if it's not a terribly motivating situation intrinsically.
Yeah.
But he's never had a problem with that in the past. I don't think he will now. But you got to set goals for yourself. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, you want to do X, Y, and Z. Now you have to carve that down. Like, what do I want to do? I'm going to get 5 or 6 starts in August. Probably 5, since he's going on the 4th of August. I'm going to get 5 starts in August. Here's what I want out of those. I want to progressively get a little sharper. I want my whip to be this or whatever. I'm sure he's got that in mind as he prepares for the playoffs.
I would imagine he's got they'll probably give him 5 innings in this game on Friday.
Yeah, probably 85, 90 pitches.
Yeah.
Whatever comes first, something like that.
How many rehab starts did he make? 4 or 5?
I think 4.
Okay.
His last one, he threw 80 pitches, I think.
Yeah, his numbers were pretty whatever, but he was clearly like.
Yeah, nobody gives a fuck about that.
That wasn't really the point of any of that. As opposed to like Soroka, who was actually trying to sort of figure himself out again. It'll be fun to see Max back. I miss watching him pitch. To your point about Strider and the Cy Young, I was looking at the just the field the other day, because people keep saying he's a Cy Young candidate, and I was like, I mean, the strikeouts and just the eye-popping strikeout numbers for sure, but I was like, his ERA is like 3.7. His win-loss is great, which a lot of voters still love. He's 12-3, but it's 3.61 with the ERA now. But man, like, the field in general is just not great.
Other than, let's see, Blake Snell and Kershaw are pretty good.
But Kershaw's, I think, having his Kershaw problems, which is he's not
going to hit the innings requirement well, for Cy Young, I don't think there is one technically, but you've never seen anybody with under like 150 innings win a fucking Cy Young as a starting pitcher.
Right.
And I don't think he's going to hit that. I think he's going to come in somewhere around 130. And then Blake Snell's the other guy. It's good, but his peripherals aren't nearly as good. Like if Strider's going to get probably 9 or 10 more starts, I would think, this season, which means or maybe 11. If things fall the right way and they don't rest him at all. And why would you? He's fucking 24 years old. But if he ends up with like 18 wins and over 300 strikeouts, he'll win the Cy Young. Because it's just like those are – not everybody cares about the counting stats like that anymore.
Right.
For awards and shit. But it's not as tuned in to the analytics as, say, NBA MVP, right? Which is, it's almost always the guy that leads in PER, except for 3 times in the last 17 years now, including this past year, which was a fucking joke. But it's always
fatigue.
Yeah. Verlander in last year was only 3rd in WAR. And who won it in the National League last year?
Oh,
Alcantara, yeah. He led in WAR for pitchers.
Dirty, yeah.
In 21... Robbie Ray led and winds up replacing the AL, but Burns was 7th in the National League, right? And then the last time that it was both guys in both leagues, it was 2019 with DeGrom and Verlander.
Okay.
So it isn't nearly as closely tied to those analytics, even over the past 5 years, as some of the other sports or as the NBA is.
No.
So I think if you put up somewhere between 18 and 20 wins and you have 300 strikeouts, there's no fucking way they're not giving him the Cy Young for that.
You know, and the more I look at his numbers, I will say, like, it does look, I mean, it doesn't look like he has been getting, like, bizarrely unlucky. I mean, his whip is 1.09.
For a starter, that is absurd.
So Blake Snell, who's got a way better ERA, about a run better, Blake Snell's walking 5 and change per 9. Strider's walking 2.64 per 9 while striking out 14.4 per 9.
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid. His expected fielding independent pitching and fielding independent pitching, I mean, it's like a run lower than his actual ERA. His batting average on balls in play is 329. It was 292 last year, so it's not like he's routinely unlucky because maybe he has like exit velocity problems because you touch his ball with your bat, it's gonna pop off of it. So yeah, I mean, it's really just a lot of kind of bad luck. But his numbers, and these numbers aren't even like a lot of these numbers aren't even like crazy nerdy numbers, like striking out how many guys you strike out per 9 and how few people you walk.
Yeah,
they look at that, and if you want to get really fun with the old school voters, like 3.6 ERA is kind of whatever. It's okay, it's good, not great, but he's 12-3.
12-3, and
I think the team in his starts is exceptional.
Yeah.
Good record.
Yeah, he always leaves the team in a pretty good spot. I think he's had like 2 bad starts this year.
Yeah.
But he's going to end up with over 300 strikeouts and less than 200 innings. That's hard to ignore.
Yeah.
And he gives up a lot of home runs, I guess, but it's not. He's in the middle of the pack. He's not like in the top 10 of getting up home runs or anything. Like, it's not even close, actually. I think he's 13 home runs off the lead, and he's only given up 18. So he's pretty far removed from getting dinged up like that. I mean, it's if you pretty much everywhere you look in this guy's stat sheet, you're like, all right, yeah, he seems to be the most dominant guy in the league right now, and I think that's what the Cy Young should be. It should be the guy that fucking just goes out and dominates. You know what I mean? So we'll see how it goes. I mean, obviously he's got to finish out the season and continue doing well. But this kid is, he's just like Max. He's quiet, doesn't talk shit, doesn't fuck around, but he is a psycho perfectionist.
Yeah.
I mean, he fucking hates losing.
Yeah.
Way more than he likes winning, probably. He hates losing, which is funny because he's a total cuck. He's a total lib fucking he's a vegan. It's like all the stuff.
Is he really vegan?
Oh, yeah. All the stuff that you would map onto this new generation. You're like, oh, this fucking guy. But he's still the Terminator in his head. So I don't give a fuck what he thinks. As long as he's winning games for the Braves, I don't give a shit. But he's a young guy, right? So he'll grow out of that stupid shit. eventually.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny. And honestly, he'll probably, I hope for the playoffs, he will have a chip on his shoulder after the start in Philadelphia didn't go his way last year.
Well, he came in with a 99 on his back this year.
Yeah.
For a fucking reason, right?
Yep.
Like, no matter how much of a fucking libtard he is, he still likes Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
So you got to respect that, right?
Right.
And I'm a big fan of this kid. I like how like self-motivated he is. That's what you're looking for out of a ball player for sure.
And he's just appointment viewing. I would say he's one of the 5 guys in the league that is like absolute appointment viewing. Him, Acuña, Ohtani.
Yeah. It's you don't want to miss this. I mean, he's going to strike out 9 every game.
Oh my God! And when he gets on that sort of like, there's times where it's just like he's like Mario with a star. Do you know what I mean? Where it's just like you're only going to strike out against him. He'll strike out like 6 guys in a row, and it's just like mean. Like it's just fucking not like like they're just helpless. And it doesn't even. It's like they're not even. It's like the batter's not even there. It's when he goes on those sort of like unconscious runs of like an inning and a half, 2 innings. It's fucking wild. Real quick before we get back to this show, we do have some sponsors. It's MyBookie. MyBookie.com is where we do all of our gambling, baseball or otherwise. You can head to MyBookie.com and use the promo code DrinkinBros to double your first deposit up to $1,000. You put in $1,000, they'll give you $1,000. Put in $500, they'll give you $500. Put in $50, they'll give you $50. Whatever, they'll match your deposit up to $1,000 when you use the promo code DrinkinBros. I guess the NFL is kind of back tonight.
The Hall of Fame game tonight.
Hall of Fame game. Oh, well, yesterday for when this show airs. And then obviously we are in football month. College football starts at the end of this month. So, get your deposits in now. Just have it there sitting waiting for you when the football games start if you're not a baseball gambler. Or look, we're still rocking baseball parlays. It's a slow day on Thursday. I'll have to check the schedule tomorrow and see what I like. But it's always fun to rattle off a baseball parlay, so check that out too. And if Spencer Strider's on the mound, smash that strikeout over.
He's not tomorrow. Max Fried's obviously going, I guess today. This episode will come out before that game, right? We put these out at noon. So tomorrow I like Rays over Tigers, obviously. This is for a parlay, by the way. You're not going to make any money betting that. Rays over Tigers. I've got the Rangers over the Marlins, probably. Luzardo's going for the Marlins. He's good. But Joe Montgomery's throwing his first game for the Rangers. Okay. And I think that their bats have been really heated up lately. I think they're going to score like fucking 10 runs tomorrow.
That's a motivated team right now, for sure.
And then Reds Nationals is the other one. Patrick Corbin, who's the worst pitcher in fucking baseball history, is pitching for the Nationals, and the Reds have just been hitting fucking taters off everybody lately. Those are my 3 games tomorrow.
There you go.
And then you could also go Astros over Yankees too, because the Yankees are in complete free fall right now.
God, that's lifeless.
And Severino's going for them tomorrow. He's got a 7.50 ERA.
Sweet.
So
perfect.
Good luck. You've got the Bombers from at the Astros in Yankee Stadium. You know what I mean? Just trying to, and they want to bury him. So
yeah. There is absolutely no love lost between those two teams because the Yankees are like, we would have won the World Series in 2017 if it wasn't for your cheating. Yeah. It's like, dude, the Dodgers were still there.
Yeah, and you were also cheating. Idiots.
There's a lot of problems with that statement. MyBookie.com, promo code DrinkinBros, double your first deposit up to $1,000. Next up, Max Fried is back. So is Austin Riley. God fucking damn.
Yeah, he's really gotten after it now.
This dude, since the All-Star break, is a fucking murderer. Probably the best hitter in the league. I can't imagine who's doing better.
I don't know about since the All-Star break.
I just took second half numbers off Fangraphs, so I assume that's what that was.
Well, let's see. I don't know if they break it down this way on ESPN. Let's see. So he's in in August. Well, let's start in July. In July, 962 OPS. That's pretty good. I mean, that's like kind of that's on the high end of what I expect from him over the course of a season.
Yeah.
Like I expect him in the fucking 880 to 920 range. July, he hit 9 home runs and drove in 21 runs. That's a crazy month. That is a crazy month. And that so far in August, he hasn't had that many at-bats, but let's break it down by days. The last 30 days, he's got a 1.054 OPS. and he's hitting 311 with 10 home runs. That's a month.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a month. It's the last 30 days.
Yeah.
10 home runs, 23 RBI, and 311 batting average, 1054 OPS.
Absolutely
Can't beat that.
crushing the ball. 209 WRC plus since the All-Star break. I mean, even on the year at this point, it's a down year for Austin Riley, right?
Yeah.
But the fact
I guess. I mean, is it yet? The year's not over yet.
It's not. But as of right now, it's a quote-unquote down year. But this is what I love about Austin Riley, because if this is your fucking down year, it's basically the beginning of August, you already have 25 homers, 66 RBI, 841 OPS.
76 runs, too. He's going to score 115 runs.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I mean, just a fantastic year. And you love seeing him back, because this is massively important to the Braves' chances of winning the World Series, because he is one of the bats in the lineup that is what we talk about when we say mentally exhausting at bat for the pitcher, right? Like, he is a Freddie Freeman, Travis d'Arnaud, I guess Sean Murphy too, for that matter, type of at bat, where and Acuña this year especially, because Acuña's turned that corner, where it's just like every single pitch matters. Every single pitch is going to.
You can't make any mistakes.
Can't make mistakes, and he's going to foul off your good pitches, and it's just draining. It's grating. So to have him back in the middle of the lineup like that, because look, I love Matt Olson, and I think Matt Olson is maybe like 3/5, 3/4 of that type of hitter. Not all the time, but he can be. And
he's just got a longer swing, so there's going to be slightly bigger gaps.
Yeah, and Ozzy Albies can be that type of batter too when he chooses to be, but he's not all the time. But but Acuña, Riley, d'Arnaud, Murphy, those are the guys that every at bat is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, it's a war.
Just work, just too much, and then you get to a guy like Olson, and you're just tired, more prone to make a mistake, and then he murders that mistake. It's so just having that type of at bat right in the middle at the top of the lineup. That just is invaluable.
I mean, it's one after another, because you're leading off with Acuña. He's on pace to score 150 runs this year, right now. And that'll include 40 home runs and 100 RBI as well. So you're talking about 210 runs created. That's a fucking lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Albies is on pace for like 115 RBI in the 2-hole, although he hasn't been there all year, but he's on pace for that and 100 runs. Riley's on pace for 115 or 16 runs, 40 home runs and 100 RBI, and then Matt Olson is on pace for 124 runs, 57 home runs, and 140 RBI. Those are your top 4 hitters. And then you have Sean Murphy after that.
Who's the best hitting catcher? Well, I mean, just one of the best hitters in baseball this season. His OPS still over 9?
Can't
imagine not.
Yeah, 902.
Okay.
And he's on pace for about 26 home runs, 90 RBI.
I mean,
for a guy that's going to play 120 games, right?
It's crazy that you forget about Sean Murphy at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's also easy to forget about your 9 and 10 hitters, who are 1 and 2 hitters in any other lineup in baseball, right?
Right.
Maybe RC is like a 5 guy other places, just because of the style of hitting he does. But Michael Harris, with his speed and the fact that he's a left-hander, is probably going to be 1-2 in most lineups. Michael Harris, who missed a good portion of the season, he's only going to end up getting about 440 at-bats this year, but he's going to hit 17 home runs, 50 RBI. He's got a fucking 800 OPS in the 9-hole right now. And then Orlando Arcia in the 8-hole, also an 800 OPS. Like I think the league average for 8 and 9 hitters OPS is like 650.
Yeah.
So, you're lucky if you've got one of those 2 spots with a guy that's going to get you over a 700 OPS, and you got 2 guys at 800
It's
in those spots.
Fucking insane.
If this team is healthy in the playoffs, you're getting into the kind of situation where if you don't win, like, it's hard to win championships in sports.
Yeah.
In any sport, right? It's really hard to win back-to-back, especially in baseball or football, right? Because so much has to go right. There's so many additional, like basketball, if you can keep 7 guys healthy, you can win if those 7 guys are good enough. It ain't like that here.
No.
You need 25 plus guys and then even more in football. But we're to the point now with this team healthy, if they lose, it's like an upset. If they lose even a game, it's an upset. But if they lose series, if they go and get bounced in the first round, that's going to be not great.
I mean, my assumption is unless they're literally trotting out one, like Smith, Shaver, or Dodd, and they're facing, like, I don't think we play the Diamondbacks anymore, just for the sake of hypothetics, like Zach Gallen.
Yeah.
I would guess they have maybe 3 games left on the schedule where they won't be favorites.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that because the schedule for the rest of this year is pretty squishy.
Yep.
To be honest, like there's a decent chance this Braves team wins 110 games. Although I think they're smarter than that. I don't think they're going to press it like.
No, I hope not.
The Mariners in whatever year 2001, I think.
Yeah.
We go at Cubs next, which is we'll see.
They're good. It's a good team.
They're okay.
They're solid. Solid team.
But then we go at Pittsburgh, at Mets. Those are fucking jokes.
Deads. Yeah.
Yankees come to us. We'll see, right? I mean, it'll be a hard out just because Stanton's coming back, I think, and Judge will be back by then and probably back in rhythm and shit. So that's a tough team to play. Although their pitching is the worst. Unless you face Garrett Cole in one of those games, you should win all 3 of those games.
Yeah, which, by the way, I guess Domingo German or whatever has had the most absurd year.
Yeah. Yeah, so he threw a perfect game earlier this year, and yesterday got put into forced alcohol rehab after pitching 5 scoreless innings, which is fucking weird, man. But, yeah, we got the Giants at home.
They're good.
After they're okay. Depends on
they're a playoff team,
the pitching matchups. Then we got the Mets at home again. They suck at the Giants, but then it's like at Colorado, at the Dodgers for a 4-game series. But I don't think anybody's going to want to tip their hand too much in there unless the distance between first overall in the National League shrinks. I don't think anybody's going to really play their hand.
We're up 8 games right now, and I have to imagine our schedule is more favorable than theirs.
It's got to be,
before that,
because our games are out of division games for the rest of the season, other than the Rockies, who were fucking terrible, and the Dodgers, and I guess we do play 2 with the Giants, but it's mostly NL Central. So we play the Cardinals and then the Pirates again, and then we go back to the Cubs at some point later in the season, and they will not be competitive at that point.
No, I think we catch the Nats a couple times.
We have 7 of our last 10 games are against the Nationals.
Sweet.
Yeah. So there's a couple of series peppered in there that are kind of difficult, but the Braves are set up really nicely to get their rotation back in order, right? Set that up.
And just keep the bullpen chill. Yeah. I mean, it really is just a matter of not – and again, they're up 8 games. It's just a matter of not losing the 1 seed to the Dodgers, which at this point I think all you need to do is hold serve.
Yeah, just win series.
Yeah.
You don't need to do anything special for the rest of the year.
Don't need to do anything crazy. So that brings us to our last topic, and you kind of alluded to the point I was going to make to ask this question. The rest of our schedule is mostly pretty shitty, and the shitty teams we do play are especially shitty at pitching the ball.
Yeah.
Can Olson get to 60? And can Acuña get 40, whatever it's going to be on the stolen base number?
I've been instructed by Ryan Spader to always preface this comment with, my attorney said to say this is my opinion. But last year when Judge was chasing the home run record, he got juiced balls.
Right.
Several years ago when games were boring, we were only using juice balls. What was it, 2019?
Yeah.
They somewhere a third of the way through the season, juice balls show up and never went away. I think that my opinion is that Major League Baseball would be very smart to start throwing juiced balls to both Olson and to Shohei Ohtani to have a race to 60. That would be incredibly, especially in both leagues, right?
Right.
One on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, and it would be super exciting. I think they're going to do that. That is the smart marketing decision, and whatever we feel about Rob Manfred personally, We talked about it on Sports on Monday. A lot of the decisions he's making are working out pretty well for the marketability of this game, right?
Yeah.
So it would be very smart for him to do that. Now, the other part of that is the players on their teams also benefit from that, because you don't just they don't say, "Hey, Olson's up, throw me a juice ball." No, the balls that they mail to the stadium that day are all juiced. So Acuña is going to get juiced balls, and Jesus Christ, he's got the most. The Braves have like
he might kill someone with.
They have like 40 more hard hit home runs than any other team in baseball.
I
it's
think
like
it's
a crazy amount.
Hard hit, and also some crazy dozens and dozens more of 430-foot home runs than the next closest team. Which, look, still counts the same, but I mean they just hit the Christ out of the ball.
But if you start throwing juice balls up to, and forget about just Acuña and Olson, but it's Acuña, and then Ozzie Albies, who's on pace for like 38 home runs right now.
Right.
And then Riley, who's on pace for 40. Olson, who's on pace for 57. And then it doesn't get any easier from there. You know what I mean? Like everybody in this lineup is a legit home run threat.
Yeah.
So I think you might. And by the way, the Braves are already on pace to break the all-time home run record for a team.
And that record was set when the balls were juiced the whole year, basically.
By the Twins of all people, right?
Right.
So
I think the key's having Eddie Rosario.
Eddie Rosario. Well, they had. What's his nuts? Edwin Encarnacion, not Edward Encarnacion.
They had Nelson Cruz.
Nelson Cruz, yeah.
Yeah.
And he had 43 that year.
He had a crazy year, yeah.
But they had the Twins lineup was very similar in that everybody in that lineup had 15 or more home runs, right?
I think that was one of the few years poor Byron Buxton, who's always hurt. Actually.
Yeah, he actually played games. Yeah, he's the best player of all time, probably.
Dude,
like talent-wise, when he's in and healthy, he's like, it's fucking ridiculous, but never is. So, but I think Acuña has I'm pretty sure he's going to go 40-40. I would be shocked if he doesn't go 40-40.
Yeah.
The question is, what's the second number going to be?
Right.
I think it's going to be 40-70, something like that.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anybody really get close to something like that. I think Eric Davis, hold on, let me look it up.
He was like 38.
It was 37,
or something
37, like and hold on, I'll look it up.
How much? So the thing with the stolen bases with Acuña is he's already got the 40 on that, and then some. He's like 51, I think.
It was 37 and 50
for
Eric Davis, and that's the most that anybody's ever done. So I really expect Acuña to have like 40 to 45 home runs and probably 75 to 80 stolen bases.
Yeah. And is there any point where you tell Acuña to like cool it a little bit?
Nah.
You think it's just better to let him rip?
Don't. You know what? You get hurt more
trying not to get hurt.
Like taking half steps and worried about this. You just fucking play, man.
Yeah.
See what happens. But yeah, they've got 30 of their or 29 of their next 56 games are against teams over 500. So a little over half. Mm-hmm. So like about half of their games are against shit teams.
Yeah.
And they get to play a series in Colorado.
Yep.
I just think they're going to get juiced balls down the stretch because it makes sense for baseball to do that.
Well, even though it's 29 of those games are against teams over 500, they're playing the Yankees, who we said are kind of dead, and then the Marlins, who we have just murdered all year.
Yeah. Well, all forever. We'll always murder them.
Right.
Unfortunately, that Yankees series is in Atlanta because it would be fun to see them up there in New York, but the only stadium that we go to for the rest of the year that isn't a pretty decent home run hitters park is that 3-game series in San Francisco.
Are the Dodgers in LA?
Yeah, that 4-game series is there, but that's a decent home run stadium. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's like middle of the pack.
Yeah.
But the rest
it's like Philly.
The rest of the places, Philly is a launching pad. Washington is a launching pad now.
Well, even the stadiums that are kind of neutral, like St. Louis, their pitchers are terrible.
Yeah.
So it's just or actually, they come to Atlanta, I think, but it doesn't matter. A lot of the teams we play who are in neutral parks, they're just still awful.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even makes up for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, to the question about does Olson hit 60?
Does that feel like the bigger ask?
Yeah, probably, because I think Ronald would have gotten close to 40 either way.
Yeah.
The question isn't whether he's 30-30. He'll be 30-30 probably in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks or so. But the 40-40 and then how high will the stolen base number get? But what's Let me look here. Ohtani is still up there. He's still got 2 more than Olson does, home run wise.
Yeah.
So he's on pace for 60 right now already. I think competing leagues, both are technically playoff teams at the moment, I believe, right? The Angels are still, aren't they?
Let me check.
Don't they have the 3rd wild card spot?
I haven't looked at the wild card standings in a couple days.
Oh no, they're back now. They got leapfrogged by the Yankees and the Red Sox. Shit.
Oh yeah, they have 3 teams in front of them.
But two of those teams are in the same division. 3 of those teams in the wild card hunt are in the same division. So some of that'll even itself out. 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, 4. So the Rays, Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Yankees are all ahead of them right now. Some of that will even out if they can keep winning games. But either way, Ohtani's the best player in baseball, and Acuña is the best hitter in baseball.
Yeah.
And you have the opportunity to feed juice balls to both of those guys, plus a guy who might hit 60 as well. I think you got to do it.
And to the point about feeding juice balls potentially to Ohtani too, presumably that would help them in their playoff hunt, and I can't imagine Major League Baseball wants anything more than Shohei Ohtani in the fucking playoffs.
At least one series where you see him pitch and hit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you want that classic moment. I mean, he did it in that doubleheader the other day, but where he fucking throws 7 innings, gives up a run or 2, and then hits a bomb. You know what I mean? You just want you got to want that as a baseball guy. So hopefully they make those. Hopefully they make the right decision here. Manfred's actually been pretty good about some of this stuff.
He's been just sort of. I will say this: say what you want about Rob Manfred, good or bad, for the good things he's done and the bad things he's done. He doesn't give a fuck.
He certainly doesn't care.
Like he'll do whatever he feels like doing, whether it's something you patently disagree with or whether it's something that is objectively good for the game. He'll just fucking rip that Band-Aid off and say, whatever, dude, blow me.
Yep. Which, if it works, it works, man. That's the end of that.
Right. That is all I got for today.
Let's get out of here.
See you fuckers later.